Jack Thompson is a great actor, but what you're about to learn is that he's an even better friend, and that's the role of his life. It began 20 years ago when he and good mate celebrity photographer Peter CARRETTE took it upon themselves to help the desperate orphans of Cambodia's civil war. Over 2 decades, they rescued thousands of children. This year, the two good-hearted larrikin mates were due to return to Cambodia. But Peter suddenly died, and Jack was left to fulfil the promise they made with one of the most emotional reunions you'll ever see. Here's Alex Cullen.
In the courtyard of a Cambodian orphanage, a blind man hears a tune first played to him as a boy.
Jack Thompson! You welcome to Happy! Jack Thompson! You welcome to Happy, Jack Thompson. It's a long ways.
Yeah,
into 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
After 2 decades, one of the men who saved Juana's life has returned.
Happy you.
Hey!
And this is a story of countless Cambodian children saved.
This is truly a family. And I'm a part of this family, and I'm very happy to be a part of this family.
I know you
It's
are.
wonderful, man.
That's great.
It's wonderful.
It's also a story of Aussie mateship. You see, the reason Jack's returned is to fulfil a promise to his close mate, Peter CARRETTE, a celebrity photographer and an unlikely Good Samaritan.
This is a celebration, Peter. You should be here, mate.
English-born Peter CARRETTE was Australia's first paparazzi photographer who gained rare access to the stars. He was a larrikin, larger than life, a ladies' man, married 4 times. He could be a bad boy.
What we did last night was bang out of order.
But he had a good heart, and he was tough. Few knew that Peter also took his camera into battle.
Peter took the most wonderful photograph of the invasion of Grenada. The whole of the front of the landcraft hits the beach, and all the guys are standing there ready for the invasion. And here's this 6'7" Pommy photographer there saying, "Guys, over here!"
But it was another war that brought Jack and Peter, mates for 40 years, closer together.
There were more bombs dropped on Cambodia during the Vietnam campaign than on the whole of Europe in World War II. It's an unbelievable statistic. And then followed the ravages of the Khmer Rouge, the killing fields.
Millions of Cambodians fled into neighbouring Thailand to a place called Site 2, then the largest refugee camp in the world. In 1991, Jack and Peter travelled there, determined to help.
It was just like a tent village made out of bamboo, but a village over acres and acres and acres.
Most of all, they wanted to help the children, many of them orphans.
These little people have already experienced more trauma and more horror than most people do in a lifetime.
Each child is a new story, is a tragic story.
Peter and Jack joined forces with aid worker Benito Amajon to build an orphanage in Phnom Penh, Cambodia's capital. And so began a remarkable journey to return the lost children to their homeland.
These children who were the flotsam and jetsam of an awful war, and on that train, for the first time, seeing their own country, a lot of them.
One of those children was Juana, 8 years old and blind. Do you remember that time on the train, teaching Juana how to play the harmonica?
And the moment I started playing, he came toward me and held my hand and felt the instrument and took it to his mouth and started blowing. That's what that moment is on the train. It's the beginning of a musical journey woven into a friendship.
At the end of the road, at last they'd found a home. It was called CARRETTE, which means family.
When we returned from making that original journey and setting up, every one of us just sitting there started to weep. And to this day, none of us can tell you exactly why. But we'd been somewhere in the company of something quite extraordinary.
The fact of the matter is that war changes men's natures.
In the years that followed, Jack became an international star.
There, but for the grace of God, go you or I.
A celebrated and sometimes controversial career.
Would you do another Cleo centerfold now?
You gotta be kidding.
Through Peter, he remained in touch with the rescued children. And Peter was tireless, returning frequently to donate more of his money and build more schools and orphanages. Peter and Jack were planning to return together this year for the 20th anniversary of that first train home.
We were set. We had made a definite arrangement to come here, Peter and I, for this 20th. And Peter, just before we were about to leave, passed away. And
Peter died suddenly from a heart attack.
all is gone.
At his funeral, a man who had done so much more than follow the stars was farewelled.
I am still here. Vale, Peter.
Jack Thompson and his mate, celebrity photographer Peter Carrette, are unsung heroes. Thousands of Cambodian children have been given a better life because of them. And that's just the start. You'll be surprised by who else has been touched by their humanity. In the emotional conclusion to this story, Alex Cullen goes to Phnom Penh, where to this day, kids are still in peril and still being rescued.
In the back streets and the slums of this city, there are still thousands of children scavenging for food, struggling to survive. Orphans as young as 6 begging every day. The lucky ones will find safety and a home with CARRETTE, the organisation still rescuing desperate children.
We can't honestly imagine the lives that they've lived, the trauma, the pain, the isolation. That's why CARRETTE is an inspiration.
And now Jack's back, fulfilling the promise he made to his close mate, Peter Carrette.
Good?
Very well.
And there's a boy, now a man, Jack is determined to see again. Little Wana, the blind orphan who captured his heart.
Jack Thompson!
As soon as he heard the voice, Mr. Jack Thompson, Mr. Jack Thompson, I know you forever. It's moment after moment of the heart just open. Tears fill my eyes, but smiles light up my lips.
Wana is now a teacher. As a child, his determination to learn to read led to the creation of Cambodian Braille.
Now, we are proud of hundreds of deaf and blind children who have been able to attend school.
An incredible 75 CARRETTE orphanages and schools have been built. The newest opened by Cambodia's Prime Minister.
I'm very proud. I'm proud that it's grown and become such an important institution in Cambodia.
Jack knows what many of these children are going through. He was 5 when he and his brother lost their parents and were sent to an orphanage.
I recognise that community of children. That's their world. That's the world they grow up in, with the companionship of their fellow children. And it's a pretty good world. It's a sense of belonging, a sense of community, and a sense that your family extends well beyond your kin.
I have a surprise for you. Some children that you may know.
Now all grown up.
Ron was, you know,
a little boy.
Yes, a little boy with his brother. He has a girlfriend now, not yet married, but he has a girlfriend.
Do you remember being on the train? Yeah?
I watched the video. I see you really young.
Yeah, really young. They're looking at me and laughing. Oh, you get old. Only one doesn't think I got old. The voice sounds the same to him. I like that.
If it wasn't for Cruzat May, what would have happened to you?
Maybe this time I'm gonna be the prostitute, you know? Yeah, my life may be darker, maybe no hope. You know, maybe no future, you know, like, I don't know, like, I just think like it's without Cruzat May, my life is just like full of darkness, you know, like hopeless, you know. But now, you see, all of us, we look beautiful and handsome, we have a job.
We have a job.
We have an opportunity to see you again. That is the big privilege for us.
And for me too.
Yes.
And for me too.
Thank you so much.
We're very happy to call this center Peter's Carrette Center.
What do you think Peter Carrette would say about Cruzat May now?
Look at this, mate. Look at this. Take a look at this. He would have been very excited, really. He would have been running around taking photos of you, mate, and me doing this. Yeah, just, sorry, I'm sorry. I'll be right over here.
Taking the photos this time was one of Peter's favourite models, Michelle Leslie. She remembers a man who, when he saw someone in need, would reach out to help.
He was an incredible protector and an amazing support of mine at a time when I really needed one, and sorry. Yeah, he was great to me.
When she was charged with drug possession in Bali, Peter helped her through her darkest days.
He made sure that he found me through friends of his that he knew, and he was kind and generous and beautiful, big golden-hearted Peter, and I was very quickly fell in love with him. He asked me to come to Cambodia to be introduced to Cruzat May, and when I arrived here and met the children, it put it all into perspective for me.
There was one more ceremony to complete. In joy and sorrow, Peter's family and friends laid him to rest in the place he loved.
I think that's a really appropriate place to scatter the ashes just behind in the river, because it's like the river goes all through Cambodia, so it's like a piece of him is going through Cambodia to a place where he loves.
See you soon, Peter.
See you soon.
You're still in my heart, Peter.
See you soon, mate.
I'd like him to be remembered not just for the celebrity photographs and the famous faces and the famous pranks, but the bigger side to Peter was Peter the philanthropist, a big man with a big heart.
Peter. Peter! Golden life. It's as if he's here, but he's not. He loved Cruzat May and those children so much, and he gave so much to them. He was a great friend to them.
How glad are you to come back?
I'm incredibly glad that I came back. I would not have missed this for anything. There's a sense of completion, and at the same time, there's a sense that it will be ongoing and that It inspires me to return more often. I think we must do this again.
And if you want to help Jack and Peter's wonderful organisation, all the details are on our website. Back with more in a moment.